Hi everyone, welcome to the Wild Rift Patch Notes 2.0a. This is sort of the meta-defining patch that Riot at Wild Rift have decided to touch on with a lot of the meta champions, nerfing them and bringing them to the ground, making the field a lot more balanced. Right, so let's just get started with the champions. First we have Aurelion Sol. Right, this one's coming in hot from a recent spike in Aurelion Sol's win rate. Could zoom everywhere, does not change directions. Now he can zoom everywhere and change directions. So first Star Search, the bug fix. I think this bug fix was really important because first of all, before this bug fix, he was basically getting free 20% movement speed. While I didn't do the gold efficiency calculations for that. 20% movement speed is a lot of gold. Like I'm not sure, like in maybe 5 to 1,000 gold for free, basically, that he was getting. And for a champion that really utilizes movement speed like Aurelion Sol does, like it's too, obviously this bug was too OP, right? So it's good to see that they're, kicking out some of the important bugs. Command of Legend, maximum movement speed 40% to 20%. I think this nerf doesn't do anything, right? I think the bug fix, if anything, is one of the more important things. What really strikes me as odd is that they don't understand why Aurelion Sol's win rate is so high. I think prior to that they were looking at his win rate and they were thinking, I think this champion is fine. But in reality, Aurelion Sol has always been good. It's just that it's a champion that people need to get more time to get used to, right? Because of its weird playstyle. But based on how much easier he is to play in Wild Rift compared to League of Legends, because first of all, you're using a joystick, right? A lot easier to maneuver. Secondly, is that the champion scales by levels, right? Aurelion Sol is a champion that scales on levels, and in Wild Rift, you level up insanely fast, right? First wave, you're already almost level 2. So, as a solo laner, and in this fast-paced game, he benefits a lot from that. And I think they should really be looking at the aspect of how they can improve people's counterplay to Aurelion Sol. Because one of the things that really define him is how he's able to stack that big ball, right? And that's too much of a threat sometimes, and maybe they want to look at the stun duration. How big can the ball get, for example. I don't know, but I think the areas that they touched on, our movement speed is an important stat for Aurelion, so I don't think it's something that really defines him as a champion. Although I understand that they don't want to really beat him to the ground since they have already nerfed him prior to this, right? So let's move on to Evelynn. Evelynn's push and roam power as a mid laner is just too much. Top of that, her first skill's damage is generally pretty high. Haters gonna hate Spike. So I think nerfing her first skill is definitely a must, right? AP ratio going down by 0.05, mana cost going up, damage to minions down 100% at all ranks to 35% to 50%. This is, thank God, like thank Jesus somebody nerfed this champion, because the amount of abusers that were going around playing this champion, climbing ranks, like I think there were probably I'm not sure. I know there were a lot of Evelynn mains like in High Master, Grandmaster, High Diamond, and Challenger as well, just permanently abusing this champion because it was just too broken, right, in the solo lane. I think she'll still be good. This champion showed a lot of promise in the jungle as well, not just in solo lanes. So people that do know how to play her at a very high standard will definitely move her into the jungle, because right, if you play at a higher level of play and it's not like so fiesta, Evelynn is one of those champions that can really take control of the game and apply a lot of pressure on the enemy team. So, especially with the Guardian Angel nerf that we will see later on, right? Because removing that layer of protection makes assassins like Evelynn so much more viable and important, right? Especially in a role in jungle where your teammates can easily help you. This is unless you get cheesed or whatnot, but that's out of the realm of expectations, or there are counterplays for you to prevent that from happening. Gragas. Gragas is very tanky with great sustain in lane. We're nerfing him so he doesn't straight up win all trades against his lane opponents. His stats: health per level 125 to 115, passive happy hour cooldown 7 to 8 seconds, barrel roll, mana increase by 10, minion damage decreased by 20%. So the most important thing here to me is first is the base stats, health per level. So why this might be important is because Gragas in the early game generally is a champion that can easily get punished. Let's just put it that way, by certain champions, right? For example, would be Fiora, Akali, where your go-to kill time before he reaches that stage of where they say unkillable or too tanky is in the early levels, and this extra like 10 HP, maybe at level 5, level 4, he's losing a decent amount of HP where it's basically almost an auto attack, right? So having one less auto attack makes a huge difference when it compares to an all in, right? Level 4 all in, level 3 all in. The second thing I wanted to note here is that his passive, I'm not sure why they didn't nerf the percent that he healed instead. Right, I can understand that nerfing the cooldown does make slight difference, but it's like literally 1 second. And it's something that is pretty irrelevant because this guy is just spamming his second skill off cooldown every single time. I don't really think it matters because his second skill's cooldown is not that short, right? So they probably could have just taken a hit at his, regen instead. Barrel. I don't think the mana really affects him that much. What we should really be looking at here is the minion damage, right? I think the minion damage will kill Gragas mid lane, or not really kill Gragas mid lane, but make it very suboptimal, because Gragas mid is a mid laner that, in general, mid laners want to get the priority, want to be able to get that push, and if Gragas needs to walk up to the wave, use all his spells on the wave to clear all the minions, I don't think that's viable because he's going to get pushed, right? He's not going to be able to clear the wave efficiently with just one skill, right? Which he used to be able to do. And now instead, at least in top lane where it's melee versus melee, he can do that. He can walk up to the wave, trade spells, and he won't get punished by ranged champions all the time. So overall, I think Gragas mid lane kind of bad. From this nerfs, I think top lane Gragas still going to be viable. Support Gragas still going to be viable, right? Lee Sin, the Blind Monk, has been kicking up a fuss with his first skill's range. Actually, this makes a lot of sense because I think the range of his first skill was really too insane. Like it didn't make any sense. Sonic Wave, target range 11 to 10, base damage 60 to 180 to 55 to 160. I think this nerf makes sense, right? In general, Lee Sin, even though he's been nerfed in the previous patch, he's been popping up a lot, and taking another hit at him makes this champion definitely a lot more skill reliant and a lot more solo queue oriented. Because in general, the champion was sort of a coin flip in a way where you would need to have a really experienced player on him, right? Not only that, he would have to play well, have to get the leads, have to coin flip well, and be able to do, everything that a Lee Sin is supposed to do, but at a high level. So this not only makes Lee Sin, slightly less viable, but makes him more, I would say, playable, like, against. Because a lot of the meta champions at that time, like Wukong, Vi, were having trouble just playing against this champion, because every game it was just, okay, we trade Evelynn, right? Enemy team first pick Evelynn, we pick Lee Sin. Okay, we have the two OP champions fighting against each other. Now let's see which player can play these champions better. So appreciate the Lee Sin now, for sure. Misfortune. Misfortune is on the strong side, so we are tuning her down a bit. Double up base damage 30 to 120, 20 to 110. Strut, attack speed 40% to 100% to 30% to 90%. I don't think this would do much to her, although it definitely helps ADCs that are struggling a lot in the meta, as not really struggling, but struggling in the early game, right? Champions that struggle against MF like Jinx, Kai'Sa, champions that have to approach the wave because they are short ranged and can easily get punished by her first skill, or like if you trade, you're getting out traded because her second skill gives her attack speed as well. So I think this helps a lot, but it doesn't really push her out of the meta. It's just making her more playable against, right? Like the Lee Sin nerf. Shyvana. Shyvana has a lot of damage on her kit and a lot of innate tankiness, while lowering some of her base stats and her elemental dragon empowered bonuses. Base stats, armor 45 to 40, twin bite slow 60 to 40%. This is for the Molten Dragon buff. Burnout, base damage 25 to 85 to 25 to 70. And Dragon's Descent, the bonus dragon health from Dragon buff, the Ocean Dragon, 150 to 350 to 100 to 200 HP. I think this was definitely deserved because, I mean, if any of you watched my stream where I was playing against Shyvana, this guy is flying at me, he's a tank, and he one-shots me. I'm like literally playing support, I'm full tank, maybe I'm like 3/4 HP. He just flies into me, presses his third skill, first skill, and I'm dead. And it doesn't make sense, right? This champion is supposed to be a tank. Why does he have so much burst damage? So I can really appreciate, first of all, the nerf on this Ocean Dragon buff, right? And as well as the base armor nerf, because his tankiness, right? In general, champions that build tank should be tanky. Champions that build damage should be doing damage, right? But there shouldn't be a champion that can build damage and still be tanky, which is, you know, Shyvana. So it also definitely brings away from the priority, or not really priority, but the strength of securing that dragon, because the difference might be that if Shyvana gets an Ocean Dragon compared to the Mountain Dragon, right, you are fine with that, right? Because initially you are trading what, an eventual 350 HP for like a 60% slow. Like, you would take that, you know, any day, right? So it definitely brings down the buffs a little bit and makes it more playable, like for the team that loses the dragon, because there are instances where Shyvana gets a little bit ahead, right? She gets like 2 dragons and suddenly the game is unwinnable. So I really like this Shyvana change. It also definitely brings up a lot of other junglers that couldn't be played. For example, I think one of them is playing the matchup of Shyvana into Evelynn, right? Because if both of you are scaling, Shyvana somehow just outscales Eve. Same with Graves, where if the Graves screwed up one time, the Shyvana would just insanely outscale you, just because the champion is just that insane, it's just that OP. So nerfing her a little bit does bring in the viability of some of the other champions that I'm really happy to see. Wukong. Wukong's jungle is very strong, and we're nerfing his clear speed and his element of surprise. So his second skill, Warrior Trickster, invisibility time 1.5 to 1 second, clone damage 50% at all levels to 20 to 50%. Okay, Nimbus Strike, attack speed bonus 35% to 50% to 25 to 55%. I think this makes a huge difference, right? Because Wukong primarily is being played in the jungle, right? His top lane matchups is very specific. He can only be played in certain matchups that allow him to, you know, sort of do decently. It's not even like he hard wins the matchup, he does decently. And nerfing his jungle, which is his primary role, will definitely be putting a lot of, like, I would say, restrictions on how well he does, especially in solo queue, and especially when you're targeting something like clear speed. Because Wukong is already a jungler that, first of all, although he clears decently, right, he's very blue buff reliant. So that's the first thing, because he's a spell based champion that clears like literally fucking super slow when without blue buff. So nerfing clone damage, nerfing his attack speed bonus, like his first clear is going to be extremely slow, and this is just going to open up a lot more opportunities for people to either gank earlier than him or to just cheese him. And it, you know, it definitely does bring him down slightly. I think previously he was just right under Lee Sin. Now I think he's up there with, like, because they nerf Lee Sin as well, I think he's up there with Vi, Lee Sin, maybe even Graves, right, as a top 4 junglers that you would call meta at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything out, but this is like the top 4 that come out at the top of my head. So items, they finally nerf this OP item, right? Total cost 2.8k gold to 3.1k gold, right? Combined cost 400 to 700, attack damage down by 5, revive cooldown up by 30 seconds. Now, I'm super happy they're nerfing this, because I do not want to see like 5 people on the enemy team with Guardian Angel. Like, that is the most tilting thing to see, because there shouldn't be a point where building a revive item first becomes meta. It's way too efficient, too, like, too hard to bring counterplay towards because you have to kill them twice. And some champions like Malphite, Cannon, although you do negate the GA if like you instantly burst them, but like what if the whole enemy team has GA? Then what do? Right, you're not gonna burst anybody. Maybe you kill 3 of them, and then they're just gonna be back there, and now all your important spells has been used already. So really happy they are nerfing this. I think this will also bring about this is the more meta defining than champion nerfs, because a lot of champions depended on Guardian Angel being their first item, right? For example, you can say Shyvana was one of them, right? Even maybe Jhin, MF, right? These were champions that were looking to buy Guardian Angel first, and they were abusing the champion rune to make up for that loss in damage. I'm just really happy to see this. It will definitely take the game a little bit, make the game a little bit slower, right? Because those champions, what they aim to do is just, I buy Guardian Angel, we fight at the dragon fight, the first dragon, 4 minutes in the game. I have GA, enemy team doesn't have GA. We are gonna win because I have an extra life. And that just snowballs the game out of control, right? Because even though they die there, the cooldown was so short that by the next dragon or by the next objective that was really important, they would have it up again. So that's where the cooldown really comes into play. So I think that's it, right? I think overall I really like this nerf. I can't really comment on the meta itself because these are all nerfs, right? And a lot of indirect buffs to champions that were struggling against a lot of these champions. I think I did mention about junglers, right? I think junglers, with the nerf of Shyvana, with the nerf of Lee Sin and Wukong, I think we'll see a lot more Graves, maybe Evelynn popping up in our solo queue games, because these are champions that struggled against, Shyvana and Lee Sin, for example. And I don't think the MF nerf is going to mean much, but the GA nerf definitely highly impacts the ADC meta. We might see a lot more Kai'Sa and Jinx, maybe even some Tristana be popping out in the games, right? Especially because it is a new champion. So, right, thank you guys for watching. See you all next time.